Language, the HG Vijay Swami, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Ananda Gundevaishnavinda ki Jai, Jai, Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai, ISKCON founder Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai, Prem Sigaho, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Sivasti Gaur Bhaktan ki Jai, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Samakun, Radhakun, Giri Govardhan ki Jai, Shri Vrindavan ki Jai, Shri Maya Pranagam ki Jai, Gangamaya ki Jai, Munamaya ki Jai, Tulsi Devi ki Jai, Bhakti Devi ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai, Transcendental Distribution ki Jai, Harinam Sankirtan ki Jai, God Premanandi, all glorious and the Bhakti, all glorious and the Bhakti, all glorious and the Bhakti. Our glories to Shri Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. Om Jnanatamandasya Jnanatana Salakaya Chakshurvalitam Jnana Tasmai Shri Guru Namaha Bukram Bhujavachalam Bhumum Shigram Niramaranam Vanchikalpati Vyasya Kripasindu Devasya Paridanam Padre Vaishnave Dev Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasti Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. In the Bhagavad Gita, it's stated Hidaya Dahi Dharmasya Bhani Bhutan Vidam Sudam Sujanyam. Whenever and wherever there is a predominant rise of the religion at that time of descent, pass out. So now there's a huge decline in people following religious principles. So therefore, Krishna has come 500 years ago. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to give us some guidance. It's stated in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mayam Taji Vardhani, Sati Krishna Jivera Kapoya Kola Krishna Veda Paran. That the living entity cannot revive their Krishna consciousness on their own. Therefore Krishna comes and he gives us the Vedic literatures, Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Mahabharata, Ramayana. Imagine if you're trying to understand the absolute truth, God, and you don't have the Bhagavad Gita, you don't have the Srimad Bhagavatam, we don't have the guidance of the pure devotee. Not possible. So Krishna, out of his kindness, he comes and he gives us guidance. The Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, these are guides for the human form of life. And if people don't have these guides, then they're misguided, going the wrong way. So therefore we distribute books to put them in the right direction. As it's stated in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, people in the modes of passion and ignorance, they don't know what to do, what not to do, what's to be feared, what's to not be feared, what's liberating, what's binding. You don't know. People are in ignorance. They think they'll be happy if they drink alcohol, take drugs, watch or play games all day. People are wasting time. So much. So much time is being wasted. The human form of life is such a rare opportunity to advance in spiritual life. 8,400,000 species of life, and finally people get the human form of life and they waste it. How unfortunate. So by book distribution, we're giving people an opportunity to go the right direction, not waste such valuable time, and take to this process and go back home. That's the goal. How many of you came to Krishna consciousness because you got a book? See? About half. So therefore it's very important. Very important. As Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, the only lack in society is Krishna consciousness. The only lack. Everything else is there. But knowledge is missing. Knowledge of the absolute. So we're trying to fill that gap. Not an easy thing. Because now people, their attention span is so short. They got all these gadgets, so, computers, and TV, and movies. It's very difficult. But somehow this movement is growing all over the world. Last year we distributed 8.5 million books. And so far we've distributed about 520 million books. 500 million. And people are benefiting. They're getting these books. Not everybody. It's Kali Yuga, so people are not very bright spiritually. Manda Matiyo, Manda Bhagavati, Bhagavati. In this age, people are short-lived, lazy, misguided, unlucky, and above all, always disturbed. So one might say, well, hey, they don't seem to be very lazy to me, they're not working like anything. lazy spiritually. People are lazy spiritually. Even devotees, even sometimes devotees have a hard time finding time to read. So, and reading, sadhana is a very, very big part of book distribution. Very big part of book distribution. Because if you have good sadhana, if you hear nicely, then you'll be inspired to distribute the books. If you're not inspired to distribute the books, why would you distribute them? Make sense? So when we go out, we should be prepared. Just like Ram, before he went to battle with Ravana, he was prepared. He had so many weapons given to him by, I think, Vishwamitra Muni and then Agastya Muni, I think also. So he had all these weapons. He was prepared. And all the monkeys also, what were they called? Varnas. Varnas. They were also strong. They were actually demigods. Powerful. Took it on these forms. They weren't just ordinary monkeys. They were very powerful. So they were prepared also. They were very powerful. And on Ravana's side also, they were prepared. So when we go out on book distribution, we have to be prepared. It's a war on Maya. It's like imagine during this war with Ravana, the soldiers went out there and they weren't prepared. They didn't have any weapons, they didn't have any shield, they weren't prepared. Then what hope would they have? Imagine someone goes out in the battlefield, all these soldiers are out there warriors. And someone goes out there and he's just wearing a gumption. He wouldn't last long, No, you go to a battle, you gotta be prepared. Shield, weapons. So if we go out on book distribution and we don't have good rounds chanted, we haven't read Prabhupada's books attentively, then it's like going out on battle wearing a gumption. So the whole process is very much about attention. Attention. And therefore, one of the offenses to chanting Hare Krishna is inattentive chanting. Big, major offenses. Anybody here ever chant inattentively? All of us. When do we chant attentively, right? Because the mind is such a rascal. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur said the mind is a non-devotee. Therefore it doesn't want to. It doesn't want to chant. Therefore Krishna says, Yato yato nischalati manushchanchitamastu. Tatostito niyomyata atmanyevasam. Wherever the mind wanders due to its flickering and unsteady nature, one must bring it back under the control of the self. So, we have to keep on bringing the mind back to Krishna. Bhakti Tirtha Swami, he had a very nice way of practicing. Because Krishna says, after Arjuna made that statement, Chanchalam hi Mara Krishna Mati Palavadvidam Tashyam Nigramandi Mayamita, that this mind, it's flickering, always going here, going there. Pramati, it's mad. Balavad, it's strong. Dridam, it's determined. And to control it is more difficult than to control the wind. It's the wind, very powerful. Vayu, who's the incarnation of Vayu? Hanuman, so powerful. And Bhima, yeah, very powerful. powerful. So the wind is so powerful, the mind is so powerful, scary. Krishna says, Durjayana Mahammana in the Uddhava Gita. He says, of difficult things to conquer, I'm the mind. So Bhakti-tirtha Swami, when he found that he was inattentive, he would stop chanting. He would back up 1 or 2 beats, and then he would go forward, just to check the mind. So you have to kind of like preach to the mind. I know you don't want to chant, but this is the new program. If you don't chant attentively, we're going to chant more. All right. It's a nice thing. I've been doing this for about 7 years. It's nice. Then you get to chant a little bit more too. And what does Krishna say? The next verse. Samsayam Mahabaho Manordunadunj Abhyasena Ponteya Vairagena Chigriyate. Krishna says, it is undoubtedly very difficult to control the mind, but it's possible by constant practice and detachment. So this is a very practical way to bring the mind back to the mantra. So try it out tomorrow morning, give it a try. I mentioned this to one devotee. He said, if I did that, Vijay, I'd be chanting all day to finish my 16 rounds. Because he had a big problem with it. Don't overdo it. But yeah, somehow we have to become very attentive in our sadhana. Then when we go out on book distribution, we'll also be very attentive. Sometimes on book distribution also we become a little inattentive. We become distracted by something. It's like on Sankirtan you might be distributing books and there's some thing of the past pops in your mind and you start dwelling on that. No, so we have to bring it back. Book distribution. So, and therefore book distribution is kind of like japa. You have to stay focused. Those who are on this path are resolute in purpose. The aim is one. However, the intelligence of those who are not on this path, so many brands, going here and there. So we don't want to be many brands. We've got to stay focused. Whatever it is we're doing, we have to be very attentive. Chanting. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Very attentive. Just the holy name, nothing else. It's like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, forget the past that sleeps, nor the future dream at all, but live in times that are with thee and progress thee shall call. So that moment, just to hear the holy name. One devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, Prabhu, we're chanting, but what about the mind? And Prabhupada said, what about the mind? Don't forget the mind, just chant. Just hear it. Hear the holy name. Hear the holy name. And we'll get purified. And the more purified we become, the more we'll focus on what is very important. And what is very important is that people get purified. That those who aren't as fortunate as ourselves become fortunate. And it's possible. Kali Yuga people are so degraded. It's like Prabhupada, he went to New York City to preach. There wasn't a Vaishnava in the whole country, at least that we know of. So imagine that, he's going to a country, he practically doesn't know anyone. Dr. Mishra was a Mayavadi, and Sally Agarwal and Gopal weren't devotees. So he goes there and he's preaching. And his great asset is that he's very determined. He was very determined to spread the message of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he was very humble. And he was humble. Those are great assets to have, to be very determined and to be humble. So with those two qualities, he captured the heart. Of course, he had so much devotion for Krishna, had so much knowledge, so many assets Srila Prabhupada had. But these two really stick out the most. He was very determined, he was humble. So he was preaching, and people started coming to him. He got some followers. And these are very degraded people. New York City people, in general, they're just very degraded, engaging in so many sinful activities you can't imagine. He was mentioned when the devotee was speaking to Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada, Lord Ramachandra, he had monkeys as soldiers fighting on his side. I think it's kind of like the same with you, Prabhupada. You have a bunch of monkeys that are your soldiers. So Prabhupada was able to turn those yavanas, malechas, into soldiers for Lord Chaitanya's movement. That goes to his great credit. He opened up that one temple, 22nd Avenue. That's the only temple he opened. And from that temple, he inspired people to become devotees. And then he sent them out. The first one was Mukunda Maharaj. He was just gonna stop off in San Francisco and then go to India. And Prabhupada just said nonchalantly, just in the past, yeah, if you have some time, maybe try to start something in San Francisco. Yeah, just didn't be a big way, just on the side. Maybe if you can, try to start something. So, just on that little statement of Prabhupada, he went and he started something in San Francisco. And so many people started coming and chanting Hare Krishna, taking prasada. So much so, it was amazing. Prabhupada arrives in San Francisco, his first plane ride. He said the house looked like little matchboxes. And his first plane ride. And he lands in San Francisco, and before he's even off the plane, he hears the chanting of Hare Krishna. 50 people are chanting Hare Krishna in the airport on his arrival. That is shocking. That is powerful preaching. He's on the other side of the planet, of the country, preaching Krishna consciousness. He comes to San Francisco, and before he even steps off the plane, there's 50 people chanting Hare Krishna and greeting him. Chanting is like amazing. And there's already a temple there. It's amazing. And from that, Prabhupada was sending people all over the world. He had a goal. Anybody know the goal? 108 temples he wanted to open. That was his goal, and he did it. And generally, at the age of 70, people are retiring. Prabhupada had a big goal at the age of 70. And in the Newsweek magazine, there was an article about people that were successful, that became very successful after the age of 60 in the whole world. And Prabhupada was one of them. But they didn't know that he became successful after the age of 70. Not 60. He might have been the only one. Because, of course, spiritually, he changed people's lives. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people gave up their material life. That's, of course, that's his greatest accomplishment. But he also became a multi-millionaire. Because all the temples and all the assets within ISKCON, he became rich. And therefore he was traveling all over the world preaching Krishna consciousness. It's like if you have a hot electrical wire and someone touches that wire, he gets shocked, right? Someone touches him, he gets shocked. Someone touches him, he gets shocked. He keeps going. So Prabhupada was infused with this desire to spread Krishna consciousness. And there's one statement in one where Prabhupada says, the pure devotee does not have a material body because of his being surcharged with the current of Krishna's identical interests. So Prabhupada had that current, that spiritual current of Krishna's identical interest. And he passed that on to others, and they passed that on. He had people going to South America, all over the world. They caught that current that was there in Srila Prabhupada. And they would go to these places and they would pass it on to them. They would get this current of Krishna's identical interest. And you would just go on, and it's all over the world. Spiritual current of Krishna's identical interest. So we want, they don't know. Nehaya karma dharmaya na viragaya kava. The tirthapada seva jivanapi mutoyasa. If one's work does not bring one to dharma, if one's dharma does not bring one to renunciation, and if one's renunciation does not bring one to bhakti, then one is considered to be dead, although breathing. So people are practically dead now. They appear to be alive. The land of the walking dead. It's like you've heard of sleepwalkers. I heard this one person, he slept walk for 5 kilometers, 5 or 7 kilometers. He woke up and he's like, what am I doing here? So it's like that. People are sleepwalking. They don't know who they are, what the goal of life is. They think they're Indian. How ridiculous, huh? Not Indian or not American. It's a facade. It's not reality. We're all the soul within. The body is just this dress, the cover. Prabhupada gives an example of it's like these glasses. The glasses they don't see. The eyes are seeing through the glasses. You take it a step further, the eyes also aren't seen. It's the soul seen through the eyes. Because dead bodies don't see, right? It's not possible. So we're only able to see because the soul is in the body. So we want people to understand this reality of who they are. Who God is, who Krishna is. So many misunderstandings of who God is. And we're so fortunate. Bhagavad Gita, the Srimad Bhagavatam gives so much information about Krishna. No other source of knowledge gives us information. The Bible, I grew up a Christian. Very little information about God. God is great. He's omniscient. He's omnipotent. Omnipresent. That's it. Practically nothing else. We have so much information. The Quran also, very little information about God. So we have so much information about God, about the soul, about the process of getting purified, becoming happy. You see, when people actually become pure, then they're happy. People think that I can buy happiness. They buy all these things. They buy a big house, and car, and computers, and all these gadgets, and buying things and things, thinking that if I get all these things, then I'll be happy. Yonta sukotararama tathanti ujjoytve. One whose happiness is within, who is active and rejoices within, and whose aim is inward, he's attained the supreme. This is the person who says inner happiness. This is where the real happiness is, not all these external arrangements. Because nothing belongs to us. They're thinking if I get these things, I'll be happy. Then I'll have this, and I'll have this, and people will be envious of me, and then I'll really feel joy. No. Happiness is within, by this connection with Krishna. So Krishna is very kind. He's allowing us to be a part of this movement. Previously, we were all doing so many things that weren't in our self-interest. So much nonsense. Now we're doing things with good sense. We weren't doing all nonsense, now we're doing things with good sense. It's given to us by Krishna. So now we're on Krishna's side, just like Vibhishan. He was on the side of Ravana, Ravana's brother, and he was fighting. But then he got good sense by the mercy of Rama, and he decided his brother Ravana. So, Jai. This person is so immoral, so low class. I don't want to deal with him. So he decided to go to Rome with 4 of his ministers. Now at first, the Varnas, they didn't want to accept him. They said, we can't accept him. He's the brother of Ravana. He's just going to come on our side, and he's going to deceive us in some way. We can't trust him. So they were all together, except for Hanuman. So Ram said, Hanuman, you decide. What do you think? And Hanuman said, just by looking at his face, I could understand that he's honest. And what did Vibhishan say? He said, if I don't fight on the side of Ram with full integrity, then may I become a king in Kali Yuga. And then when they heard that, they said, all right, he's telling the truth. So then he was on the side, they were on the side of Ram. So now we're on the side of Krishna. Now we're on this war against Maya. We were on the side of Maya, like Vibhishan was on the side of Ravana. Now we're on Krishna's side. Against Maya. We're in this war. Prabhupada said it's a war against Maya. So we want to be good soldiers. Puppets, as Prabhupada said, we want to be puppets in the hands of Krishna. And Krishna told Arjuna, Nimitta matram bhavasogya sati, you just be an instrument. Be an instrument in my hands. So this is what we want to be. Good instruments in the hands of Krishna. That means, Chaitasa sarva karmani. In all activities, just depend on me. And always work under my protection. In such devotional service, always be conscious of me. So you have to depend on Krishna. Take shelter of Krishna, have very good sadhana, and depend on Krishna. And He'll help us. Okay? Thank you very much. Any question? Yes?
Thank you for wonderfully enlightening us on the side of personal sadhana when we are going for book distribution. You were mentioning about the incidents of Vibhishan joining Lord Ram's party. And Lord Ram accepted him, asking everyone's opinion. So saying that, okay, somebody who's surrendering to me, I accept him. The verse which I remember is that Sakradeva, even if once somebody says that Lord Ram, I'm yours, I accept, then why he banned Mother Sita? So that thought comes, okay, Mother Sita was banned, is that same thing will happen to me also? Is that the things which the Lord is doing with the devotees only?
Well, that's a whole amazing pastime. Because this whole wonderful pastime of Ram is just like, Ram is God, and so many amazing pastimes took place. And Valmiki, of course, he was able to describe all these pastimes, but then he was thinking, how is it going to go out? So there's many commentaries on why Sita was banned and sent away. Of course, the main understanding is that there was some criticism that Ram again accepted his wife after she had been with another man. And Ram is the most moral. So he was being criticized for that. And he's a king. And he didn't want that. Prabhupada also said that one should act in such a way that one is not criticized. So Ram is most moral. So he did that. But on another side, she left, and Kush and Love, they were there also. They grew up, and they were also hearing these pastimes. So eventually it was understood by Valmiki that you were the ones that will spread this. Because he was thinking, how is it going to get out? How is this knowledge going to get out? So they went, Kush and Love, they went all over. They were chanting this Ramayana and ended up at Ayodhya. So, of course, then Ram heard it, a whole other pastime. So, ultimately it's about morality. I mean, Lord Ram, he was the most moral person. He is a king, but he made a vow, I only have one wife. I mean, that's like unheard of at that time. How many wives did Dasarath have?
I have two questions here. One is that you have mentioned that if one's work does not bring him renunciation, and if that renunciation does not bring him bhakti, so this statement, the later part of the statement, I am just trying to understand, because bhakti does not depend on anything, any external thing. So in fact, when somebody does bhakti, so naturally he develops the renunciation. But here, as you said, like bhakti is the cause of renunciation as it goes. So that is one thing. And another thing is like regarding the.
That's the first question?
Yes.
So bhakti is dependent, it comes from bhakti. But there's a gradual process also. Adaushadata sadhu sangata vajana taton arti nivitisha taton nishta uchistita. So in the beginning you get some faith. Adaushadata sadhu sangata, from faith you get some association with the devotees. From association with the devotees you engage in devotional service. So at the same time it's a gradual process. And from engaging in devotional service then we gradually understand we have to give up unwanted things, bad habits, anarthas. And that's not an easy thing. So we have to understand this. Before we can actually attain bhakti, we have to go through these different stages. Bhakti is the most, to attain bhakti is the most difficult, it's the biggest challenge that any of us can face. It's very difficult. And then now we got to go further. Then we get a taste. Once we give up bad habits, which are very difficult to give up, we get a taste. Adaushana tatasha sangata vajan taton artha nivittis taton nishta uchista. No, actually then we get a firm faith. Once we give up the bad habits and we have firm faith, then we get a taste for Krishna. Taton nishta uchista. So ultimately, bhakti comes from bhakti, but it's a gradual process. Therefore, we serve the spiritual master. We take shelter of the spiritual master. We serve the spiritual master. We please the spiritual master. Krishna is pleased. But it's not just that. We also have to, as Prabhupada said, we have to learn to fly our own plane. So that's a gradual process. We have to get purified. So this love for Krishna is there. Just like in wood, there's fire coming from the sun. But what if the wood is waterlogged, soaked with water? Can you light the wood then? Actually, you can. But you have to have the fire under the wood a long time. The moisture gradually comes out. Especially if you have a big fire. Then the moisture comes out. And after the moisture is gone, then the fire comes out. So similarly, we have to chant Hare Krishna for a long time. To hear Prabhupada's books for a long time. Because some of us are a little bit kind of waterlogged souls. So we got to do a lot of chanting, a lot of hearing, and gradually all this contamination is burnt away. And then all there is this love for Krishna. Okay. Next question.
Next question is, sometimes book distribution, it is confined to only December month or November, December month. So like actually book distribution is just how can we make book distribution part of our life, like every day or at least regular. So how can we get that inspiration to, like taking out the books and going out and, getting that inspiration to talk about Srila Prabhupada and what is there in his books to somebody else. So that inspiration, how?
Krishna inspired you just to ask this question because I wanted to speak about this. And I forgot about it. So how can we increase beyond just November and December here in Bangalore? I know there's a lot of places in India where they do their main book distribution, just like you'll see it. I have a graph of the temples, throughout the year, and you'll see you one like this, and then December goes up, and but throughout the year, there's like not doing very much here. So therefore, I know many of you you're engaged already, you're working or you're studying, but many of you are probably aware we have something started by Vijay Prabhupada, the monthly Sankirtan festival, where you just go out maybe 3 hours, one day of the month. I understand that you may just have one day of the week off, or 2 days max, and those days you go to the temple, you have Bhakti Shastri or something. But just that one day of the month, you know, go out and distribute books instead of going to the temple if there's a choice, or you can do both. But just one day of the month, go out for maybe 3 hours. You see, if you have a lot of people doing a little, it becomes a lot. So you may think, well, I don't know, I go out, 3 hours, one day of the month, what's that going to do? Even if one person takes a book in that 3 hours, that's great. As Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, actually Prabhupada said that if one of his disciples went out and just distributed one small book, then his guru would be so pleased. One small book. So that may have started someone on their journey. I'll tell you one story. There was one lady in Argentina. She went to Paraguay, which is the next country over, to distribute books. And she tried all day long to distribute books. One person took them. And when she was leaving, she was thinking, I'll never go there again. But then some weeks later, she found out that one person became a devotee. Yeah, see? So, one day out of the month, go out, 3 hours. It kind of also keeps you in touch with book distribution. Because if you go 10 months without distributing books, I can't imagine that. And then you do a marathon. This kind of keeps you in touch with book distribution. Keeps you a little, otherwise you get a little rusty, Get a little rusty. It must be hard, all of a sudden the big marathon comes up and you haven't distributed books the whole year. Now this kind of keeps you in touch with the book distribution mission. And then in Vaiseshika Prabhu's team, they have the monthly Sankirtan Festival, which is extremely successful. They're the number 2 temple in the country, North America. And there's not one person living in the temple, it's all congregation. It's all congregation. So, it's a very powerful thing if you have a lot of people going out just that one day. And many of those devotees, they're so inspired by that one day, they like it so much, they go out every weekend. And they're hankering, they're working all week and they're hankering for that day, they can go out on the weekends. So they're called weekend warriors. Soldiers for Krishna, Ram. So, try that once a month, and that'd be a big increase. It'd be a huge increase here in Bangalore if you can get that going. There's a lot of devotees throughout the world that are participating in this. It's called the MSF, Monthly Sankirtan Festival. And it'll benefit those persons whom you distribute books to, and of course you'll be benefited. Your advancement in Krishna consciousness will be much quicker. You stay in touch. Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, when we distribute the books, we get answers sometimes that why you are wasting the papers. You can go for the soft media, electronic media, rather than publishing the books.
Oh, I haven't heard that one yet. The question is that why are you using paper? You can do use software. You can e-books. You're wasting paper. No. There's so many examples of devotees distributing books and people getting books, and they put them in their bookshelf, and it sits there for decades. And then after decades, they pick it up and they become devotees. So many examples of that. There's one story of a young man, he wanted to learn about God. So he went to his mother, can you help me out? I want to learn about God. She said, well, did you read the Bible yet? He said, yeah, I read it, but I didn't get much out of it. Then she remembered, I got a book 25 years ago called Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God. Maybe you'll get something out of that. She never read it. She gave it to him, he read it, he became a devotee. Many examples of that. You see, the books were sitting there on the bookshelf. Tick, 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 tick. Little time bombs, And then they pick them up, boom! The material life is finished. So no, books will always be. Books are very important. And also these devices, these devices, computers, iPads, iPhones, you get radiation, isn't it? You get radiation. It's not healthy. People are they're getting cancer. In America, many people are getting cancer from putting the phones in their ears. And just like in the beginning, everybody thought smoking was okay. It was cool to smoke. They have one cigarette called Cool. Prabhupada said they call it cool and they're putting fire in their mouth. So, for decades they thought it was okay. It was healthy. And they found out it's not healthy. And now in all the cigarette packets, the Surgeon General has found that cigarette smoking may be hazardous to your health. Here also, right? All of the cigarette packets. So now they don't know. It's still new. How long have we had iPhones? A couple of decades, maybe 3 decades. Just a couple of decades, right? Now everybody in the world has them. And people are getting cancer from them. So don't be surprised in a short time there's going to be some message there. It's been found that this causes cancer. Be careful. It's much healthier to read a book. If people say, no, I read e-books, well, hey, be careful. Radiation is coming out, And you're probably already using so much of these pads and everything, so you better read something that's not going to give you radiation. Be old-fashioned. Go ahead, read a book. Okay. Anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai.